welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie. We're part of the Main Damie Network, and to find more from us, check out the website at themaindamie.com or on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Main Damie. We are also now a proud member of Geek Vibes Nation. You can find them at gvnation.com. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie, and with me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Myers. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, how you doing? I'm just glad that this gets to distract me from the insane stuff that's going on in the sports world. So, thanks, Ant.
Sure. That's not going to timestamp nothing.
Yeah, well, that could be any year.
Exactly.
Who knows what we're talking about? But this is a very special episode. Before we get into our very special episode, guys, did you watch anything this week?
I did. And, guys, I got to tell you, do you remember what movie theaters are?
It's been a while. It's been
do you remember like sitting in a dark theater and the surround sound, the crystal clear sound, and just that feeling? Because I got to do that yesterday.
Really?
Oh yeah. I ventured outside, my friends. I did it. I risked life and limb to see Tenet. My uncle's birthday was yesterday, so my aunt rented out a theater.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And I mean, I would love for that to be like the norm, because I'm really sad to see. I think Variety posted a article how a lot of theaters are just operating at losses now.
Mm-hmm.
So man, I feel like we're just on the precipice of theaters shutting down for good. But I'll tell you, it felt. I got my M&Ms, I got my Coca-Cola Classic, sat down. I had my mask on, except for, I'd slip an M&M or whatever. And I saw Tenet. I didn't even care about the movie, to be honest. It was just being there to see a movie. And the theater wasn't great. It was a fine theater. Cinemark. I've never been to a Cinemark before in my life. Decent theater. It could have been the fucking, the Ritz or whatever. I don't care. It was so good. But to the movie itself, it was a fine movie. I don't think it was one of Christopher Nolan's best movies. It was kind of unnecessarily difficult to follow at times. Not like Inception had you hooked with how crazy it was, and like Interstellar was the same way. This was just kind of unnecessarily confusing, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think Inception does a really good job of explaining itself, almost to its detriment, because I know a lot of people will say that 80% of that movie is exposition telling you what you're about to see. So it's a double-edged sword, basically.
Tenet is the exact opposite. Like how, like all of a sudden all of these things are happening, and then all of a sudden they decide halfway through the movie to do an exposition dump on how everything works. Like, well, man, that would have been great if you explained it throughout the movie instead of just shoving it in our face. But I mean, the action scenes were cool. It's an interesting concept, obviously. Christopher Nolan is anything but boring.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get some interesting stunts. You're going to get some interesting action. Pattinson, very good. Washington, very good. It was Branagh is good. He's kind of creepy, scary. I mean, it was a good cast. It was well acted, but like the editing was kind of poor. And there's a lot of times that the editing really took you out of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But
did they manage to fix the audio? I know people were complaining about, once again, they were unable to hear the dialogue like every other Christopher Nolan movie.
I didn't really have a hard time listening to it, but he's got to find a different sound than wah. Someone needs to explain to him that there's a whole world of sound out there.
There's pews.
right, yeah. There's anything. Right. Yeah, he's fixated on the.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Does Elizabeth Debicki dunk in this movie?
Does she say that one more time?
Does she dunk?
Does she dunk?
Yeah, that girl's like 6'3". I really just want to put a basketball in her hands and see if she could dunk.
She does the reverse dunk on and you know what's kind of weird that now that you mentioned it, you know how like Tom Cruise, he can never be shorter than his co-stars?
Yeah.
In Tenet, they kind of go out of their way to show you that she towers over, was it John David Washington?
Right, because he's kind of I get the feeling that he's kind of short.
Yeah, he might be like my height.
Right, because just Black Klansman, Adam Driver is noticeably taller than him,
Yes.
and Adam Driver's around that 6'2"
yeah,
range,
she's.
and she's in heels, right?
Oh yeah. They don't even try to hide that she's tall.
Yeah.
But no dunking, which is, I mean, how do you pass that up, the chance to have her dunk and the wah sound, right?
Or at least like take like an outside shot. I bet you
Right.
she's like a solid stretch 4 maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, just drives the lane on Pattinson. That would have been great. Throws the elbow to him. But sadly, no, there was no athletic display.
Hold on a second. Mark, is that you?
Yeah, I'm here. What?
It's a little like wind tunnely. Who's that?
Better?
Yep.
Am I still good?
You're still good. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Dan.
Oh, that's okay. Essentially, the only athletic thing she does in the movie is swan dive off of a boat. It's a perfectly fine dive. I would give her like a 7 or 8 if I were a judge. But it's a cool concept of a movie. I know it took him 5 years to write it, and it's, again, I think it was just a little. It's a Christopher Nolan movie, but they just kind of went a little too outside of the box, I think.
It's like needlessly complicated.
Yeah, essentially. But
Gotcha.
it could have been anything. I could have been watching one of the movies that we review,
Sure.
and it would have been awesome. It could have been Gotti, and I would have been, this is great. Oh my God, a theater. John Travolta's
he's doing
amazing.
the 5 boroughs.
Oh man.
So
I
better
love it.
editing, Tenet or Pootie Tang?
Probably Tenet. But
Yeah,
there
to
was
think
just
about it,
there's a scene where John David Washington is speaking with this woman, and it's just cut, and you're like, oh my God, please just stay focused on one of the actors for 10 seconds. It took me right out of the scene. Very jarring.
All right. Is that your only viewing this week?
No, I actually just watched The Devil All the Time with Stellan Skarsgård. Is it Stellan Skarsgård? I
Is it
forget.
the older Skarsgård?
It's Pennywise.
Oh, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Bill
It's a
Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård. And Tom Holland is in it.
Mhm.
It's a good movie. It's fine. Slow burn, very slow burn, but it's interesting. I don't really have too much to say about it. I think you guys would enjoy it because I know you kind of like the slow burns.
Honestly, I have no idea what that movie is about. What about you, Mark? You watch anything this week?
The only thing I watched was another episode of High Score. The only thing I'll say real quick, because I'll go on in case if you watched anything yet, was that episode was all about Sega and Nintendo. That the first console war. But mostly it made me miss John Madden.
Okay.
There's a whole thing about John Madden in it, and just they were showing the old clips of him in the booth, and I was like, I miss John Madden as a color commentator on sports.
Sure.
They did this whole crazy thing where he was diagramming a play for Pat Summerall, and Pat Summerall looked a little bit scared for his life because Madden's just going like wild with the marker on the paper. I don't know if you've seen that episode yet.
Yeah.
And Summerall's like, okay, John.
I'll never forget the man. Those guys, like, talking about great sports announcers. Like, when he drew the dial, like he drew on the teleprompter the steam coming off of one of the defensive backs' bald head on Dallas. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that only he could make interesting.
Yeah, it was so good that whole section. They had him, riding a train because he didn't have the cruiser at this point.
Right.
And he was like, yep, the best thing about this is the wheels never leave the ground. That's what he said to the guy. His big, like, 6'4", like, probably close to 280-pound man. It's just like, yep, I'm glad these wheels stay on the ground. Like, it was just real good. Growing up, I knew most of the stuff that was in that episode, but yeah, I was just like, man, and especially with our conversation pre-stream, it was like, man, we were spoiled as kids with the commentators that we got to listen to beforehand. But yeah, that's about all I watched. I have, as you saw, if you watched the stream for the Game Vault Pod on Wednesday, not to date this, but I finally finished moving, so I should have more time to actually watch movies. So
interesting, but you won't anyway.
I won't. But I will now have more time.
Sure. So I didn't watch too much this week. Actually, that's not true. I did watch a few things. I rewatched The Lighthouse, another Robert Pattinson film. I still don't love it. It's just too weird. Like Robert Eggers, writer director, also wrote and directed The Witch, which I love. I just don't love it. There's not enough there for me. The performances are interesting, but when all's said and done, it's like, what happened in this movie? I don't know. Not much. And that's really all I come away with. So I watched that again. And I watched a documentary called Scary Stories, which is a documentary about scary stories to tell in the dark, the children's book series from our childhood.
It's not the movie Scary Stories.
No, it's a documentary about the writer and how, it's basically just people talking about which illustrations they remember vividly or which stories really got them when they were kids and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's probably better than the movie.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's, it was something that I just had on in the background and I decided to watch it. But I did watch The Babysitter 2, Killer Queen, and it was interesting. It was the Netflix movie with the original one had Samara Weaving in it. So this was the sequel that came out last week, I guess, when you're listening to this like 2 weeks ago. It was good. It kind of takes the ball that the first one has and just kind of takes it and runs with it. Kind of goes way over the top with it. It's not bad. It's like a 6.5.
Okay.
The cast is still pretty game for everything that the movie makes them do. It's silly. It's like a good dumb movie, I guess.
And that was the first movie, really.
Yeah, this goes a little dumber.
But that's good. You got to top the first one, right?
Yeah.
Go
I didn't mind it.
top.
It was kind of mindless entertainment, and that was fun.
Okay.
Something that I needed at that moment.
I didn't know that came out, but I liked the first one, so I'll check that.
Yeah. And
I
that's
love
about
Samara Weaving, so.
Yeah, that's about all I watched this week. But this week is a special week. If you listened to last week's episode, you would know that was episode 100. So we decided to take a break, gives ourselves a mental vacation a bit as we are approaching 31 Days of Horror. We decided to take a week and just kind of celebrate ourselves, pat ourselves on the back, because we've done a couple of other podcasts that have not made it to 100 episodes. So we're here to pat ourselves on the back a little bit for accomplishing that. So at the very least, we made it. Hey, look, Ma, I made it, as the Panic at the Disco would say.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's weird. You would think that we would have hit 100 already. It feels like we've done a ton of episodes, but it's cool, man. I don't think I've been, well, I mean, I guess Stranger Damies has done 100. It's been over 100 episodes, right?
And 27.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love the consistency that we've done. I've seen a lot of interesting movies, hate them, love them. It's just a great overall experience.
Yeah. I've had such a great time with this podcast, and hundreds more I'm ready for.
Yeah.
Yes, it does feel like we've done this for so long, and if no one doesn't remember, it's hard to remember that this wasn't even a weekly podcast when we first started. I had started it off as something that I just wanted to get back into writing articles, which has now gone by the wayside. But what I was doing was I would write articles on weeks that we didn't have podcast, and we would do it semi-regularly. We would do we started off doing it once a month, and based on just a movie that a theatrical release that kind of inspired a movie that we wanted to watch and talk about. And then after that, we started to do every other week, and we would switch off between this and the Main Damie podcast. So, and then I think around the beginning of 2019, we decided, we're kind of phoning. I think we kind of all admitted that we were kind of phoning it in for the Main Damie podcast, and we really didn't know where that thing was going. So then we decided to take this weekly, and we started off June 21st, 2018 was our first episode, and that was The Land That Time Forgot, and we've done 99 more after that. So, I think we've come a long way, both in structure. I think we figured out our structure. I think we figured out our audio. Listening back to a few of the older episodes, we definitely hit our stride after the first episode. But yeah, no, I'm very pleased where we're at right now. Mark, what about you?
Yeah. I was the best part about this podcast is you just get the mixture of both reliving movies I haven't seen in a long time that I loved or had memories of but couldn't remember if they were good or not, and then just seeing the insane stuff that you pull out, and that I never would have even had a thought of, and just the main thing is with all the podcasts that we currently have running on the Main Damie family of podcasts, is just the growth it's shown, over these 100 episodes. Like I was listening back to some old episodes, and just the conversations, we get into a rhythm a lot easier, and just bits or jokes just flow more than feel less stilted. And I'm always proud of growth, and when it comes to doing anything in a creative medium. So just seeing that we're not stuck in the same place and that we're getting more listeners. We have a big supporter over on Geeks Vibe Nation and Tia, and just seeing that support for this thing where we watch sometimes really dumb movies that nobody should ever watch, and just then talk about them, has been great. And also every October you subject me to horror movies that I would never have thought twice about watching, because and at times I thank you for that, and at other times I, as we've seen in previous ones, I'm like, I don't get it, but okay, sort of response to it.
Team player.
But yeah, like, but I love my role of being basically the optimist on the podcast, where I always try to find the silver lining in everything.
Sure.
That is just me in general. If you've listened to the other podcasts, I do the same thing, or even the streams that we do now. And it's also, going back to the growth thing real fast, the fact that now I know after watching a movie going into this podcast just how both of you will react to a movie mostly. Only once or twice am I surprised by Dan's reaction to things. But it's sort of like we've gotten this camaraderie and sort of getting to know each other and our movie tastes a little bit better. And I think that's made the podcast more fun.
Okay. Yeah, so this is gonna be a free form episode if you haven't figured that out already. We have a couple things on the agenda. We're gonna go back and talk about kind of some of our favorite moments from the show. We have a few clips that we pulled, and we're gonna play them for you. I have a couple things, maybe questions I'm gonna ask these guys, maybe a little bit sort of episode. They call this movie sort of trivia. Not really, but you'll see what I'm talking about. And then we have a couple. We just have put together a list of our 5 favorite movies we've covered that we hadn't seen previously, not including Avengers Endgame, because that doesn't count. But yeah, so there's a question that I want to come up with that I didn't write down. So we've done 100 episodes, and this is just after Mark was talking. It came to the top of my head. What's the worst movie we've covered to you?
In terms of just like overall, or like production quality?
If you want to be just the movie you liked the least.
A movie that I liked the least.
Okay.
Love on a Leash.
Okay.
Love on a Leash, because that combined terrible acting, terrible characters, terrible production value, and they made me hate a dog, and that shouldn't be humanly possible.
Okay. Mark?
Yeah, that would have been the one I would have went with if we went production value, in terms of that, because that is just a train wreck of a production and movie. But I think the worst thing we watched, and Dan may have forgotten about this one, but that Turtles Christmas special that we watched.
Yeah. That was an episode just you and I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That movie is god awful, or whatever it's supposed to be, short film or whatever. But that might have been the worst thing that I had to go through on this podcast. Because at least, Love on a Leash, I could laugh at how terrible it was while watching it. There was nothing redeeming, even from this optimist brain here, about that Turtles thing. And it was, I couldn't even think content-wise. Like, at least, we get into the mindset of, at least it's for the content. We can shit on this terrible sound design for 30 minutes, on the podcast. But that Turtles thing was like, I don't know. I don't remember because we don't record, obviously, pre-show stuff. But I don't know if I said to Dan beforehand, I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do.
It was one of our shorter episodes.
One of our
Yeah,
shortest
so-
episodes. Yep.
Yeah, it's like, okay. I think the best part we got out of it was you, I think, told the story about going to see them on Broadway with the
Radio City Music Hall.
the Radio City Music Hall thing. That might have been the best part of that podcast.
I'm telling you, man. Count on Us. That song slaps. All right. Go listen to it. I swear, I rock out to that song to this day. If I'm
Gets
feeling
pumped
down,
up.
if I'm feeling down, a bad day of work, listen, the Turtles. You can count on us, man. There's no need to be afraid. You can count on us. It's so bad, but it's so good.
We all need to hear that.
Yeah.
In today's day and age.
I'm trying to. You got to fight to be free. You got to fight for what is right. I mean, who can't identify with those lyrics? Come
It's
on.
true. It's universal. In terms of mine, Love on the Leash is the obvious one. It's definitely just the most baffling movie we've ever done. I personally hated Left Behind, the movie.
Yeah. Its message was just terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the second on my list.
those are like my two that are fighting over it. Yeah, because I did not see We Wish You a Turtle Christmas. The Star Wars Holiday Special is a bad one too.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I would probably lean Love on a Leash just because of just how incompetent that was overall.
Yeah. One of those movies has actually made my list of movies that we haven't seen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's Left Behind, the movie.
No. No, I would have rather have forgotten that one. And I kind of did, because when you brought it up, like, oh shit, yeah, we did do that.
So for a little background, in case nobody has followed us in our careers, quote unquote, at the Main Damie, this is not the original They Call This a Movie. Back in 2013, we did 4 episodes of They Call This a Movie. Started off October 7th, 2013. Does anybody remember what movie we did first?
October was probably a horror movie.
Yep.
Was it can I?
Yeah, go for it, Mark.
Was it the what's it called? The multiple movies in one. I can't think of the name for it.
You're on the right track, yes.
I
Yeah.
think I might be off then.
It was Snoop Dogg's Hood of
That's
Horror.
it.
I was gonna say Night of
Hood
the
of Horror.
Creeps.
Yeah.
So we also did the ones that aired. We did 4 episodes. 3 aired. It was Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror, Mountaintop Motel Massacre,
Yes.
Mhm.
and then we went into Christmas and did Jingle All the Way. The one that we never aired was Bloodlust Zombies. It was a softcore porn horror movie starring Alexis Texas.
Oh, yeah, that's
That's
right.
right.
And it didn't air because we lost, I think it was Dan's portion of the podcast. So back then we used to all record our own pieces and I would put them together. Now we've figured out other ways to record this. So for whatever reason, yours was lost to time. So I tried my best to kind of listen to it and see if we could have put it together without Dan's, and it didn't make any sense. So then we just said, fuck it, and it's gone. We'll never see that thing again.
Future generations lost, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was 5 years before we actually picked this back up. And then we had other iterations of podcasts. Then the Main Damie we kind of picked up, and we did a few movies. We kind of did a few podcasts in the same vein that would eventually become They Call This Movie. We did another horror season where we did like The Baby, The Stuff. Remember The Stuff?
Ooh, the stuff.
Night of the Creeps, and then we did some I think so like a Bruce Lee movie I think we did, but yeah, that was the original They Call This Movie. We did 4 episodes. What I'm proud of the most when it comes to this podcast is we always had problems with consistency, and we have figured that out in some way. I don't know what it is about this podcast that we've been able to master the art of just doing an episode every week. The Main Damie podcast, I think that was its biggest downfall, was the fact that we would do like an episode and then we do 2 episodes in a row, and then we wouldn't do another one for 3 months. And I think that's our biggest growth portion.
Yeah.
It's just we got to do it. We got to do it because we got to. But I think I don't think it's felt like a job yet. Maybe I'm wrong.
No.
You tell me.
I mean, I'll always tell friends who are trying to get into podcasting that consistency is key. If you're churning out content, anything pretty much to your I guess quote unquote fan base, it's gonna make it much easier for them to grow because eventually, there's such a wide variety of podcasts out here that someone eventually is gonna just stumble across you
Mhm.
and maybe they'll like you. But then if you're taking a month between podcasts, how are you going to get any interest going?
Yeah.
But if you have a library of back-to-back, podcasts going, it definitely makes it easier. And I think that's the biggest thing. Whether like I like to say, obviously, not every podcast is a smash hit in our terms. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Not everything's going to be golden, but I'd like to think more often than not we put out good content. So that's why you see the numbers growing as they are. And who doesn't love bad movies? That's such a niche that a lot of people have made livings off of it, especially on the internet. But I mean, I like how we kind of have a mixture of older bad movies, newer bad movies, through every genre, and it's not just old movies or action movies or just new movies. We run the gamut of bad movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Now I wanted to ask you guys a question because I have some stats, a little bit, not too many, but I wanted to see if you guys could guess the top 5 most listened to episodes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this isn't gonna be like how we used to do with trivia. We're just gonna see how well you guys could do this.
Okay. I'm assuming Endgame is in there.
I will tell you no. In the
Okay.
top 5, it is not in there. I could
Okay.
probably pull up if it winds up in the top 10, but yeah.
Mark, what do you think?
Justice League.
Justice League is not there.
Oh,
No.
wow. Interesting.
Avengers Endgame is 8th.
8th. Okay. So not too far off.
Nope.
I'm trying to think. It has to be within the past few months.
I will say the number one movie the number one episode listened to is less than a year old.
Wow. Man, I am stumped, to be honest with you.
Actually, most of these movies are just around a year old, if not more recent. Actually.
The movie itself, not the episode.
No, the episode.
Oh, the episode. Mark, you go.
Did we get any play for Vampire's Kiss?
It's not in the top 10.
Wow.
This movie is from the 90s.
Twister?
It's not Twister. I'm going to give you the first one because I don't think you guys are going to get it. Because it's baffling to me. Our number one most listened to episode is the 1998 Christmas hit, I'll Be Home for Christmas.
Really?
Yep.
With Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
Number one. And it's not even close.
Really? Man,
I mean,
Jonathan
in terms of
Taylor
our numbers,
Thomas
it's not
still
even
pulls,
close.
man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So number one is I'll Be Home for Christmas. Number 2 is a movie I was not a part of. Number 2 is Law Abiding Citizen.
Get out of here.
Nope.
That Gerard Butler, Dan.
Yeah. You see, you guys hate on him, but the people know. Good for you guys.
Number 3 is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. 31 Days of Horror entry. Number 4 is The Fanatic.
I was going to say The Fanatic, too. Because it was between Fanatic and Gotti. Because I do remember us having the conversation about one of those two having good numbers. Man.
And number 5, rounding out top 5, is Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat.
Shitty movie. What a bad movie.
6, Invasion USA. 7, Jaws the Revenge. 8, Avengers Endgame. 9, Thunderstruck. Episode that Mark and I co-hosted.
Yeah, with the negative charisma Kevin Durant.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I wasn't there for that.
Rounding out the top 10 is the only movie on this top 10 list from 2020 is The Phantom.
Oh, and we got a follow from the Phantom Twitter account for that one.
Yep. Yeah.
So
if I'm not mistaken, Ann, is 4 of the top 5 like within 2 months of each other?
Yeah, roughly. So all of them are within 5 months.
Okay.
The oldest episode of the top 5 is Dr. Seuss The Cat in the Hat, which was July of 2019. And then everything else was, we got 2 in September of last year, 1 in October, and 1 in December.
I feel like The Cat in the Hat was not that long ago. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
July,
awesome.
over a year ago.
But I will tell you that The Fanatic is in my top 5.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any guess of what the longest episode is?
It's an old episode, I think, like an older episode.
I will say it was one of our first 15 episodes.
Skyscraper?
No, that's up there though.
Jack and Jill.
Nope, that's up there. All those are kind of up there. Yeah. No, it's Star Wars: The Holiday Special, clocking in at an hour and 49 minutes.
Ooh,
I think that was when we were still doing trivia, so that makes sense.
I think so. I think we did have a trivia portion of that. Would you hazard a guess at our shortest episode?
It's the Turtle Christmas, I'd imagine.
It's not.
Ooh, I don't know. The shortest episode. It's got to be less than an hour.
Yep.
What is it? 45 minutes?
Close. It's around there.
Okay.
Is
I
it
don't
the
know.
thing on the Neil Breen movie?
That doesn't count because that was
Okay.
not a. But yeah, yes, for all intents and purposes,
Yes.
if I was trying to trick you guys, that would be the answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah.
The answer is an episode that probably came out 2 weeks after Star Wars Holiday Special. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Clocked in
yeah.
43 minutes.
That's wild. Even that probably felt like an eternity because that
Yeah.
movie was awful.
Those 3 movies were in a row. It was sorry, I had the letterbox up. It's Star Wars Holiday Special, then the Turtles movie, and then Santa Claus and the Martian.
Yeah, that was our first Christmas with
Yeah.
this podcast. So we have 8 episodes that are less than 1 hour. Twisted Pair trailer, which I counted it for this one. We Wish You a Turtle Christmas. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Sorceress. Left Behind the movie, which I remember just being like, I hated this movie. Let's get through this as fast as possible. Lost Treasure of the Maya. I think it was basically the same thing. Roadhouse, which I think it was just me and Dan.
It might have been.
Rubber was our last episode under 1 hour.
But that was probably close to like probably 55 minutes, 56 minutes.
Yeah. I remember because I was going through it today and like Rubber and Roadhouse were just about the same amount, the same length of time.
You know what's cool? And I was thinking about this just now. It's not just us picking the movies too. I mean, we picked the majority of it, but we'll put out polls. People will, give us suggestions of movies to review. So I feel like that's a pretty cool indicator that people are interested.
Yeah.
And when we put out a poll, it's not just like 3 or 4 or 5 votes. We're getting a good amount of votes for what to review.
Yeah, we haven't done a poll in a while. Maybe we should get back to doing one of those.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to, again, if you're trying to put a podcast out there and you want to interact on Twitter, polls are great.
Yeah. I also have a couple numbers of the year that we have covered the most amount of movies was from 1987, where we did a total of 9.
Oh, wow.
Jaws the Revenge, Teen Wolf 2, Dolls, Deadly Prey, Funland, Masters of the Universe, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, The Running Man, and Over the Top. We also did 8 movies from 1996, which included Skyscraper, Raven, Kazam, Santa with Muscles, The Phantom, Leprechaun 4 in Space, and Escape from LA. So, did we want to talk about our 5 favorite movies that we never saw before this show?
Sure.
All right.
Do
And then
go
at the
around.
yeah, so we're gonna go through this, and then after this, we're gonna do just a couple of our clip show portion of the episode, if you will. So we'll get to talk about some of our favorite moments. So yeah, we'll just go around. We don't need to keep this long. I have 5, but I haven't put them in order. So it's just 5 movies that were my favorites.
And it's stuff that we've never seen.
Stuff you've never seen before.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like, mine are pretty, like, they're earlier episodes. So like nothing. I'm not gonna be like oh Craw. Like that movie was fucking terrible. That movie. I am not glad that I saw that. But for sure, the Fantastic Four. That was like our 2nd episode, I think.
Yep.
And I being a comic book fan, obviously, I like most comic book movies, but there was always that legend around that Fantastic Four movie. Like basically it was never. I don't think it was ever released in theaters, right? Or
Right.
there was something about it that I was always fascinated by, and I wanted to watch it. So that was one of them. The Star Wars Holiday Special was another where I had heard tales of how awful it was, and they had the majority of the main cast in there,
Yep.
and it's like subjecting them to torture.
Oh yeah, it's like at gunpoint.
Yeah, Harrison Ford could not have wanted to been there any less, and it just shows all over his face. The whole thing's in Wookiee. It's just terrible, but I'm glad I saw it. Gotti, not Gotti, The Fanatic was another one, and for the haircut alone, and because Fred Durst directed it,
Right.
so that is a train wreck and a half. Troll 2, another one where it's legendary, and I was not disappointed by that one. My last one, I really didn't have. I don't know. I'm kind of torn between Sorceress and Guardians because Sorceress really just has that ending,
Sure.
which is fucking awesome. But Guardian has a Russian bear, man.
I feel like I remember that episode. You absolutely hated that movie.
I did hate it, but it's a bear that shoots a Gatling gun off of its back.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. But like Sorceress was that 70s like cheesy, schlocky.
Yeah.
And I think there was some nudity in that one.
Yeah, there was.
So I think that kind of pushes Sorceress over the edge.
Yeah.
Right? If you get some nudity and quality nudity, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's always going to help.
Yeah. Playboy Playmates.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna say Sorceress,
Okay.
and that'll round out my top 5, I think.
All right, Mark, lay it on me.
So I'll go with Dan to just get the one that we both have on our list, which is Guardians, or at least he talked about, because for some reason after seeing that movie, there are times where I just think, what would they have done with a Guardians 2 in my head? They're just random thoughts when I'm like completely nothing to do at work. So that one definitely makes my list. My other one is also just for Dan, just for you, buddy. It's Justice League.
You son of a bitch.
Just because, as we had said, I don't know if we said it pre-stream or on here, I had seen the majority of the movies we had seen outside of the horror stuff. So Justice League is one of the better ones I've seen that I hadn't seen before. Reanimator might be my favorite of the horror movies that we've seen that I hadn't seen before. And then my final two, obviously we have to go with a Darren McBay movie, and it's got to be The Killing Zone.
Ooh, good one.
Was such a that movie, like if they actually played it on basic cable, I would leave it on if it came on TV. Because it's just that dumb, you don't have to pay attention to every single scene movie. And then a one that I had mentioned that I had not heard about at all, and ever since we watched it, I've heard like at least 5 or 6 different people talk about this movie just since I've seen it, which is Gleaming the Cube.
Nice.
It is a movie, is a good movie, because, you know, Christian Slater in that time frame was, charismatic on screen and just, doing his thing back in that late 80s, early 90s era. But after that, I'm like telling people, like thinking we had unearthed this like 80s movie that had just gone by the wayside. And they're like, wait, like you mean the one with Christian Slater in it? And I'm like, what do you mean? You like
You've seen it?
You've seen it? What's that?
No, real quick, I
Yeah.
swear to God, I was listening to an episode of Critical Role recently, and I think Sam Riegel mentioned Gleaming the Cube. I was like, son of a bitch, even they know about it.
Yeah, it's so good. I was mentioning that I had heard it on watching someone stream Tony Hawk 1 and 2, the new game. I was watching it, somebody in the group mentions like, oh man, I can't think of many good skateboarding movies, and somebody was like, yeah, Gleaming the Cube, just as this known fact that that's a great skateboarding movie, and I'm
With
like,
hardly any skateboarding in it.
yeah, and it was just fun. It's the first time I ever had that happen, where I've never went through 35 years of my life never even hearing of this movie, And then right after I see it, it's like all of a sudden it's like putting the glasses on and They Live. Like,
It's everywhere.
it's everywhere. But yeah, those are my 5. And honorable mention to Funland. If it wasn't for the fact that Guardians makes me think about what the sequel would look like at random points during the day, or how I can incorporate those characters into D&D campaigns. Especially a giant bear with a Gatling gun on its back.
Hell yeah.
That would have been number 5. But yeah, I really enjoy, and as much as I sort of just seem laissez-faire about it to you guys, I do look forward to the horror movies, because there's going to be like with Reanimator, it's going to be a movie I will absolutely love that wouldn't even have been on my radar, and it's probably my favorite time of the year for that reason.
Oh, great. So I'm going to get into my 5. It doesn't seem like we're going to have any overlap, which I love. I will make special mention. It wasn't on my list, but Sorceress I loved. So mine isn't in any sort of order, but so I'm just going to go through it. Mission of Justice, I believe, was just an episode where it was just Dan and I.
Yeah,
It was a direct-to-video action movie with Brigitte Nielsen in it, and there's this one fight scene in it which was super awesome, and then they introduced a chainsaw in the middle of that fight scene, and it just got like 100 times better. That
is a pretty cool scene in the garage.
Yes, in the garage. Yeah. And the amount of times the boom mic shows up in that movie is just through the roof. But it was a lot of fun. I seem to gravitate towards those direct-to-video 90s action movies. But actually, The Killing Zone is not on my list, but definitely an honorable mention. Motorama, so batshit crazy. I had to have a movie where a kid is put into danger, because that seems to be a running theme in the movies that we pick. And obviously it got us to reach out to Joe Mignon, so we talked to him for a bit. Number 3, third on my list is Dolomite. Never had seen Dolomite. I thought that was great. It's so stupid. It's Rudy Ray Moore. He's so ridiculous in it. A middle-aged man thinking he's the biggest badass, but to be honest with you, he wrote himself a pretty decent badass. Number 4, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. I'd seen the clips 1,000 times. I had never really sat down to watch the whole movie until this show. I'm glad I did, because that movie is fantastic. And my 5th, partially because it might be my favorite conversation we've ever had on this show. Number 5, to round out the 5, is Time Cop. We've done 2 Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Both of them have great moments in podcasts, if I can say that. But yeah, Time Cop, fun movie, and one of the best conversations we ever had. Yeah, that's my 5.
Yeah, if we were doing best episode, that is definitely my number 1. That episode was fantastic to record, and listening back to a couple of the clips just makes it. That movie, I loved it before we even saw it, and just the conversations that you guys picked from it specifically to have during that podcast just made it. If I recommend one going back to and listening in full, it would be that one.
Sure. Yeah. And those are our 5. I think we all have kind of a smattering of different types of movies. I love the fact that we really didn't overlap too much, because that kind of shows you where we're at with these and how many episodes we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's the diversity within our movie picking. We don't just stick to one thing, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is probably a good time. Maybe we'll take a little bit of a break right now before we get into our kind of clip show episode. So, Dan, do you want to tell us a little bit about Top 10 with Tia?
Yeah, absolutely. As Mark alluded to earlier, we have a big friend in the podcast in Tia. She has her own podcast on Geek Vibes Nation. It's called the Top 10 with Tia. It's Tia and her friends getting together to discuss the top 10 lists of whatever they feel like discussing. Movies, directors, actors, TV shows, comic books. Like, they do a whole bunch of, it's not just one thing. So it makes it very interesting. Follow her at TC_Stark on Twitter. You could also check her out again at Geek Vibes Nation. So gvnation.com. And yeah, go give her a follow.
Okay. Yeah. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back and we'll do kind of play in some of our hits. So listen to these friends of a podcast, and then we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
Padawan J.
Coach Duffy.
From the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast. Every week, the ODPH is talking sports, movies, TV, comics, and more. It's always a parlay of topics on each episode. You can find the ODPH on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, and wherever you find great podcasts, such as the one you're listening to right now. Don't forget to check out OchoDuroParlayHour.com, where you can find the links to all of the ODPH social media accounts, links to the bands whose music you hear each week on the show, hashtag 607 podcast info, and parlay points, our companion blog section of the show. Thanks for listening to the ODPH. Now get back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. It involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked your ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell them.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. And now it's time for our very special clip show. So we just kind of pulled, we took a few weeks to kind of think about, some of our favorite moments from this show. And we kind of threw a few out. I don't want to keep this too long, so I kind of culled it down to like about 8 or so, and just wanted to talk about some of them. And we'll play a couple of clips here. The first one off the top of my head is we do a lot of impressions on this show when deemed necessary, and one of my favorite ones is when we go back and forth during the episode we did on The Maddening with William Hickey.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was forever 61 years old.
He came out of the womb as a 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
And then we spent like, it's got to be close to 2 minutes just going back and forth with William Hickey impressions.
Yeah.
Mostly from Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
I just love the little compliment you throw in there to your father, and
what was that?
You're like, my dad, he's 64 and he looks a lot better than William Hickey does.
Oh yeah. But William Hickey definitely, he looked like he's seen some shit in his life, but he saw it all at one time compressed. It's just like everything hit
1947.
Everything just hit him like a ton of bricks. He gained so much knowledge in like a year. And yeah, but his voice and his acting, I've never truly seen a movie with him at a younger age, to be honest. So I don't know if he's always acted the way he does as the cantankerous old coot.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was literally born to play that character.
Yeah, so without further ado, here is the clip of us doing our best/worst William Hickey impressions. William Hickey has a long career. Yep. He died. He's like 60 in this movie, which isn't that old.
60? Do you mean 60 plus 60?
So I think he might be like 65 in this, but in so he's looks super old in like Christmas Vacation, and he's like just over 60 in that movie.
Wait, hold on. He died at 69.
Yeah. You think he was 80 for like 25 years?
This blows my mind.
Yeah, I was surprised too. He was only 69 when he died in 1997.
Is this like the Wilford Brimley Tom Cruise thing?
So he's like he was like 61 in Christmas Vacation.
Oh my goodness.
My dad is 64. My dad's 64. And he looks in much better shape than William Hickey did at 61.
I'm flabbergasted right now, guys. Like, when people say like, "Oh, this blew my mind," this really blew my mind.
Yeah, I bet you William Hickey was like this when he was a teenager too.
Oh yeah, right. He had to look like he was 50 when he was 15.
Yeah.
Wow, this is incredible. This guy was typecast as the old man since the day he was born.
Was Angie Dickinson technically older?
That's a good question.
She was born in 1931.
I might have to
Yeah.
sit this one out, guys. I'm done for the night now.
Let's see. William Hickey was born in 1927. Wow, he's only 4 years
Born in
older
29,
than
yeah.
her. 4 years
My
older.
God.
Than her. Yeah.
Angie Dickinson was in Rio Bravo.
Yep.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, when she popped up, I was like, oh shit, she was in Rio Bravo.
When did she pass? Oh, she's still alive.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting. Wow, this is nuts, guys. This might be the greatest revelation we've ever had on They Called This a Movie. William Hickey was just born at 69 years old.
Yep.
Nice.
Right.
Got to go back and watch his old shit. Like that one episode of the Phil Silvers show in 1957 and see what he would look like. He probably still talk like this.
You couldn't drive a dump truck through a nitroglycerin plant.
That's not the Christmas star clock.
Wow. This is great. I love
Aw,
this.
Bethany, he guessed it.
Hey, Grizz. We're just going to constantly do.
Why don't you? You're not doing anything. Why don't you run into the living room and get my stogie?
We're actually doing a pretty good William Hickey impression. It's not bad.
They want you to say grace.
The blessing. Oh my God, we've gone off the rails. We should,
Rest in
now
peace,
we have
William
to.
Hickey. Why were you always 75? So that was that one, and then we're gonna go right into the next one. There's no order of these, so I don't think that I'm ranking any of these at all. But I wanted to talk about one in particular clip here. There's an entire episode where I was pretty drunk, so forgive the audio of this because Skype never switched over my mic settings, so I am talking over my regular computer mic. But we covered this past Christmas, we covered Santa with Muscles, and there was one scene in particular that just had me baffled and just amazed, and that was the scene with the girl singing Angel Baby to Hulk Hogan. What do you guys think about this moment?
Mark, what? I'll let you go first.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. So, my favorite part about this, and I didn't realize it until I listened back to it, was the fact that the more passionate Ant got about the song and how ridiculous it was, the more and more he couldn't hide that he was, a little bit buzzed during it, because it would just be like he'd get to a level and then he'd have to slow down, and then it was amazing. I don't think it could have been any better if it was in a different situation, but just the fact that I think another thing that happened, Dan, I don't know if you remembered this or when you heard the clip too, is when we would inform him of things that went on during that scene, because he was just so pissed at the song that he was like, "What do you mean they said that?" And the voice was like, "Yeah, he said that. Oh, what?" But yeah, it was just such a. I've been in those situations where you're watching something or listening to someone talk and you just get so angry at what you just heard that you just miss entire portions of the scene that may have made it less angry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of movies like that we watch where I was like, what is going on right now? I can't believe I'm watching this. And then if you go back and listen to some of our previous podcasts, there will be scenes where I've just missed because like I can't believe what I've seen. But yeah, that scene of putting Hulk Hogan singing with a child, someone should have been fired for that, because first of all, that kid can't sing worth a damn. And it's just it's a Christmas movie. Why not just put why not just put a song that's free? Yeah, like anyone could use Jingle All the Way, whatever. But to try to make up a song that's a sin, man.
It seems like she's doing it right there on the spot.
Right, and Hogan's just trying to keep up.
That's what I was convinced.
Brother, this reminds me of when me and King Kong Bundy were in the ring.
Right.
Didn't talk about the match beforehand, brother.
Oh, that was I think that was with Andre.
Andre.
Oh, I didn't know if I was gonna beat him, brother, because listen, he's the boss, brother. And I didn't know if I was gonna pick him up and slam him to the ground. But yeah, it's for someone who was a wrestler, you would think you would have to kind of go on the fly. That's not Hulk Hogan. you can't hope that he can improv.
Yeah. So here's the clip of me drunkenly getting progressively angrier at this little girl and Hulk Hogan not being able to pick it up with her.
They have breakfast, and the one girl, I think, what's her name? Susan? The main girl. I have no
No,
idea.
not Susan. Susan was Brenda's song.
Oh, that's right. This was Elizabeth. Elizabeth is in the church, and she's talking about how she's singing about baby angel. And
Angel Baby.
Angel baby. It has no context within the movie.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like How the Grinch Stole Christmas, like Where Are You Christmas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Cindy Lou she's growing up and she's missing that Christmas feeling, that Christmas cheer is eluding her. There is none of that here with this song. It's just a random song, and it's really it's really like she's just kind of going off the top of the dome with it.
My favorite part of the song is that she's like, you know it, don't you?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah. I mean, start it off for me. And then she goes on to sing a song that no one's ever heard before.
No.
And I'm positive. I wrote this on Twitter today. I'm positive this girl was making it up as she goes along because there is no explanation for it other than that. Like
Hogan says that his mother used to sing it to him.
It's insane. There's nobody that sat down at a computer or a typewriter and wrote this song out. This song is completely off this 8-year-old girl's top of her head.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a rhyme scheme. There's just her stream of consciousness as an 8-year-old maniac just being like singing some shit about Angel Baby, and the last note she sings is incredible. Mariah Carey couldn't write a better end to a song. She couldn't hit that note because that note doesn't exist.
I wonder if this song was supposed to be the first sign of the reveal that happens at the end of the movie.
What's the reveal?
Yeah, it doesn't tie in, does it?
No, that he was at the orphanage, and that maybe he thought his mother was, when he said his mother sang it to him, maybe it was someone in the head of the orphanage sang it.
Even at that point, that's a stretch.
But it's this movie.
This movie too much credit, Mark.
Yeah, that's a huge stretch in my opinion.
So the end of this scene, she hits a note that doesn't exist with Angel Baby, just going for it, which apparently makes the windows light up. I don't know.
Oh yes. She the Energon crystals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we find out later that it's the crystals that were the fairies.
That's right. Yes.
Right. I watched the movie twice. You guys got more out of this than I did.
Okay. Our next clip is probably the most excited we've ever been at an ending for a film, and that's Sorceress.
Yeah.
And that's when I don't even remember the name of the god.
Not a clue.
But this one kind of took us all by surprise, and I think it was one thing that we were like, oh my God, I can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah, well, especially because this movie was really just a poor man's like Conan the Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
It was super boring and really just cheesy, but not the good kind of cheesy. And then this ending kind of just pulls it from the fire because it's batshit insane what they just pull out of their ass, really. It's a lion with dragon wings, I think.
Yeah.
Right? It's some
like
mythological
or something.
Yeah. It's stop motion, and I love stop motion in any movie. That's why The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies. The stop motion in that is great. But it's a stop motion lion with bat wing. It's fucking bizarre. It comes out of nowhere, but it's so cool because it's like that's the kind of stuff I really love. Just people making crazy things up. And I'm not going to say it saved the movie, but 100% saved the movie, but it definitely put it in my good graces. Like, this is fucking crazy. This is so metal.
Mark?
Yeah, this was right around the time when we were really picking up steam with the D&D. So seeing these insane creatures and stuff was just just showed you that at any point, no matter what character I created, there is nothing that would be as batshit insane as that final god that shows up there out of nowhere, or also as disappointing of a creature or villain that they've built up for so long, and then it just shows up and it looks like some guy's like hand sock puppet thing just going, "Oh, roar, I'm here, ah,"
And he's only there
You know,
for a few seconds.
and gone. So yeah, I think I said in either in the clip or somewhere in that thing is where I literally my jaw just dropped. The moment he came on screen, that god came on screen, because there was no way you could have prepared me for what that thing looked like.
All right, so here is that clip of us just so excited to talk about the ending of Sorceress. Oh my God, the end is where this movie sells it, man, because it goes off the fucking rails.
It's so good. I love it. They totally ruin it with like 50-year-old villagers coming in to fight.
But fear not, because this movie also has zombies.
It does. Ooh.
Because
They're
all of a sudden,
actually pretty cool looking.
yeah. So Baldar and Mira are still in the catacombs and trying to figure out a way out. And then all of a sudden, the bodies in the catacombs start coming to life.
Yeah.
So they have to start fighting them. They're not sure if this is real or an illusion, but it's real enough.
Yep.
So they're fighting them as the ritual's still going on upstairs. It seems like they're starting to lose against the zombies, but that's when Mira remembers what Kronos said.
Yes.
Is when all else fails or whatever, remember Vital. So she says Vital, and then her sister Mara yells out Vital, and then Vital shows up.
Oh my God.
My jaw dropped.
Thank God Vital shows up.
Nothing could prepare you for this. I gasped when he shows up.
Yes.
How glorious is it?
It was so good. It made this movie so, and this is what kills me. Like, this movie is so fucking shitty, but this part is so fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, so the thing shows up, which is basically a lion with wings. Bat wings. Not even like a good griffin. Like, we're talking like a bad griffin.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as he comes up, I'm like that little girl gif that's all like 2 fists to the mouth. Sort of like, yeah. Because it is amazing.
And while it's amazing, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I was gonna say, Ant, is this the part where you said you rewound a couple times to see if the thing was real or like sort of like CG, like early CG, or if it was like a puppet thing?
Oh, it's most definitely a puppet.
Yeah. Oh, 100. While this thing is, you have to see it for yourself. If you're listening to this, just watch that part. If anything, it's at the very end. But while it's awesome, he does nothing.
He does nothing for a good amount.
For a long time.
Yeah, he just kind of looks on.
Yeah, he's very majestic looking, but kind of useless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just kind of. What happens though at this point is that the spell is broken, and Mara is able to break out of Trigon's hold. The fights start, the sword fights in the square, I guess, and they really get use out of those same 2 sound effects of the sword fights.
Cling, cling.
That fight starts happening, so Trigon calls an audible, and he sacrifices the princess to his god Calgara.
Who
Calgara shows up.
Much less awesome than the other god.
Yeah. She's got a half face, a 2-face.
Yeah.
And she shoots lasers out of her. She shoots lasers out of her mouth.
What is she? She part snake or dragon or?
I thought she's just like
Reptilian.
that Mel Gibson movie, like the man has 2 faces.
Yeah.
The man with 2 faces. Yeah, it's like
or the man without a face.
They call upon Harvey Dent.
Amazing.
She does more than what was Vital.
Mm-hmm.
She does more in terms of action than Vital does. If you think about it.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. It's like, well, I guess he could have sacrificed just about anybody for Calgara.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big loophole.
He's just like, oh, all right, this isn't working, so I'm gonna do that.
Plan B.
I think it must have been like a sliding scale. Like if he sacrificed his firstborn, he got this level of power.
Right.
You know, it's like the levels of clear. You know.
So if he had sacrificed the daughter, he would have gotten, like, instead of a head,
full clear.
Yeah, like a full-bodied apparition, like God.
We're talking like Tom Cruise level clear.
Jeez. That's pretty cool if there's different levels of God depending on who you kill.
Okay, and this next clip is probably so. What we do a lot of the times is we'll go off on tangents and talk about ways we'll make a movie better, or we'll rewrite a movie, or we'll come up with a sequel. And I think the Teen Wolf 2 episode has two of our best moments of that. So it almost couldn't even figure out which one to pull, but I wound up picking the one where Jason Bateman's character has the feral gene rather than, like Michael J. Fox still has his cognitive abilities with him, and he just goes on a murderous rampage. This is a funny clip for me.
Now, this isn't the same one where we discuss him boxing a rival high school's
Frankenstein's monster.
No.
This is the one where like his roommates go on the lam because they're the ones that put him up to going feral.
Okay. That one, I thought you were gonna pick the other one. I was more prepared for that. This one I don't remember as much. So walk me through it. Essentially, what did we say? Essentially.
You want to take a few minutes and listen to it?
Sure.
All right. Right, but he's also a man, so he's got full agency. He understands what he's doing. So right, it's not like he becomes a primitive beast when he becomes a werewolf. He still has full cognitive abilities of a human being, but just he's could run faster and jump higher and has the agility of a wolf.
How great would it be if he didn't retain his human side in the boxing ring?
He just mauls somebody to death.
Fucking rip someone's head off.
Yeah, that's what would make this movie better. Is if like Todd was the one that just was stuck with the primitive aspects of the wolf.
He got the feral gene.
Yeah, the feral gene. So, and like the rest of the movie is just the coach and the dean going on trial for manslaughter.
Right. Like the first shot, because when he's Todd, he gets his ass kicked, he falls over, and then he wolfs out. And then he like jumps into the ring. The next shot should have just been his fist going to the camera and then cut to the guy's head just flying off.
Or just sticking his like claws like right in the guy's chest and just ripping his heart out.
Yeah.
Like a Killer Clowns moment.
And then he just goes into the stands and eats somebody. Have to get like campus police to put him down.
That'd be such a great movie.
It'd be amazing. This whole setup for the first time he wolfs out. I'm gonna say Hulk out all the time. A whole setup like 40 minutes of right before he wolfs out. Right. And then just the rest of the movie is just it's just them dealing with the aftermath of this wolf attack on campus.
Just pandemonium on Hamilton in quad and everything.
It's great. We should write Teen Wolf 3. This is exactly what it's gonna be.
And Nikki's the one who like calms him down enough for the campus police to just plug him a few times.
Just an onslaught. Like they have to get the SWAT team in, or like the or the military.
He just goes down in a hail of gunfire.
It's the Edward Norton Hulk movie.
Oh, I would have loved to have seen that. Jason Bateman just blown away.
The switcheroo in the second half of the movie is just about Chubbs.
Yeah.
Right. Just dealing with the emotional fallout.
And put like, the moves on Nikki.
Him and Styles just totally regretting telling him to wolf out and how it would make his life better. And just them, and they have to go to the guidance counselor on campus.
What if their storyline is that Chubbs is like, man, this is your fault. I gotta tell somebody about this. And Styles like, you can't tell any fucking person about this. I'm going down. You're going down.
That would have been great.
And they're just paranoid like all the time. They always see the cops on campus interviewing people, and they're like, oh my god, what the fuck's gonna happen? And then they hightail it to Canada or something like that.
Right. And then
To leave the country.
they accidentally mistake there's like a cop car following them, and it's just a cop car just minding its own business.
Yeah.
And they get like paranoid, and they start like weaving in and out of traffic, and they just get into a terrible car accident.
Sounds amazing.
They take a hostage. Todd wasn't our fault, man. It wasn't us.
Yeah,
we believe you. Just let the hostages go.
They kidnapped the two hoes.
This is all their fault for not putting out.
All right.
That's fucking funny. I forgot about that. All
right. So what did you think about this clip, Dan?
Yeah, that is an interesting take. I like the latter part. Because I could still picture that one scene in my head where, you know, like I mentioned, he gets his ass kicked, he falls, he jumps into the ring as the Wolf, and there's that look of surprise, and then the punch just coming to the camera and the dude's head flying off. That's fucking good. But the two friends being paranoid and on the run, that's the best part of the making the movie better. Because now it turns into a totally different movie, man. Oh man. Oh, I love that. That's a good one. I'm surprised we got two really good ideas out of that one movie.
Yeah.
With the boxing, the Frankenstein's monster, and then the friends having to deal with the aftermath of Jason Bateman's character murdering a person in the ring.
Yeah, this is a pretty funny one.
Yeah, this clip basically just was the first moment where I realized that whole how do you make this better part of the podcast would be able to be filled with such great moments in it, because I don't think we had made it a part of the podcast at this point.
No.
But I think this is what inspired it. Just because I think later on in a later episode, we literally rewrite another movie, going through the same premises we did with this. But this was so organic, and it was one of those moments where we just kept like piling up one great idea and insane thing you can do with this on top of another. And yeah, it was definitely one of the ones I remembered when you had mentioned to us to think about what we would want for this episode.
Yeah. So we're gonna move right along, because I'm going to assume that I cut that part in already. Just note to self, cut that in earlier. And I'm going to go into an episode where we accidentally shamed a actor because of his looks, and then he totally called us on it. And that is when we were making fun of Clint Howard during our episode of The Goods, which he's not even in.
I don't even remember how that got brought up, to be honest, but I ran with it. Yeah. Whatever the reason was.
I think we were discussing sort of similar to William Hickey, and I think in the episode we actually even bring up William Hickey too, is that Ed Helms is like, I think he's like 30 when they filmed The Goods, and we're like, he doesn't fucking look 30. He looks like he's like 42. And then we got onto Clint Howard also being a person that was forever the same age.
That's right. Yes. The people who just came out looking like that. And you sent us a picture on Skype of Clint Howard as a child. I think he was 7 years old in Star Trek.
Yes.
And listen, I was a dick. I can admit it.
Yeah.
And that was only a look like that's a face a mother could love. But god damn it, man, it would have been so much better if he came after us. But he was he could not have been more classy. Yep. And like, hey, like, I think I did pretty well for a 7-year-old. And yes, my mother does love me. And it just like, I think that's the mark of a man who's just like, he's so comfortable with how he looks.
Yep.
And he's made a living. Like the dude's whether or not however he looks, he's in some great movies. Mm-hmm. And he has some great lines. Everyone knows him. Maybe they don't know his name, but if I told you like, oh, he's that guy in The Water Boy, I said Joe Montana, like, oh, okay, yeah, that's him. And but yeah, it's a very funny back and forth. And yeah, he called us out on it, and you know what? That's cool. That's fine. It's what I deserved.
Yeah. For those that don't know, he reached, like, we posted this clip on Instagram, and he actually he found it somehow, probably through a hashtag, and he commented on it. So if you're listening to this, Clint Howard, thanks for being an awesome person and taking it all in stride. And hopefully maybe we'll watch The Ice Cream Man one day and we'll say nicer things about you. So here's this clip. I don't think there's really much more to talk about, but it's pretty funny.
I feel like Clint Howard is another guy who was born perpetually old.
Yeah. I think there's like episodes of Star Trek, like the original series that he's in, where he's like a 9-year-old and he's like a giant bald head.
The most hideous thing I've ever seen.
I just shared a picture of Clint Howard when he was maybe 7 on an episode of Star Trek.
That is the epitome of a face only a mother could love.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That poor man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Him and Ron, are they they're full brothers, right?
They are.
Like, man.
What are those eyebrows?
The short straw at every turn.
For everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What happened?
Were they twins and it was just like the second twin just barely hung on and that became Clint?
Jeez.
And then we've got 2 left, and I'm gonna go into this. I wanted to do this one last, but the other one is informed by this one because these 2 are both Jean-Claude Van Damme movies where he plays 2 roles. So I'm gonna talk about the first one, which I think is the best conversation we've ever had on this show. And it's also one of the most not safe for work conversations we've had on this entire show. And it's our conversation about Time Cop, specifically about the ramifications of having a threesome with your past or present or future self. And I was listening to this one earlier today, and I was cracking up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to clarify, having sex with another person with your past or future self.
Yes, a threesome.
Not actually having sex with past or self, which is a whole different conversation that would not work in context. Once you listen to the clip, you'll see why. But I believe, listening back to this clip that I forgot, I think this is right around the time that we started working with Geeks 5 Nation.
Yeah, it was like the first episode.
Yeah, the first. So in the middle of it, where I think I say it like around the time when Dan goes, so when you just come on her face, or your aunt says it or something, and I'm just like, hi Geeks 5 Nation, how you doing?
They actually posted not safe for work in the description on the iTunes the iTunes listing. So I think that might be our only not safe for work. Although in general we are not usually safe for work. Not that we're
as explicit on iTunes, but it's just language.
Usually, we're not too far out there.
We always get the sex talks about Jean-Claude Van Damme movies or sci-fi movies. Because we also have a very similar conversation in Hologram Man.
We do.
Yeah.
Well, because I don't think enough people talk about it.
Yeah.
These things lend themselves to sex talk, and we need to break the taboo of it. All right. It's 2020, goddammit. I actually had this conversation last night with family members because there is a scene in Tenet when they do mention that you cannot interact with your past self. I was like, oh shit, are we about to see John David Washington have sex with himself in Tenet? Oh shit. And no, that didn't happen, but I did bring it up to my family, and they knew immediately, like, Time Cop. Like, yeah, right? Time Cop. So yeah, it's a big what if. It's something that needed to be discussed.
Yes. Yeah. And we discussed it for like 9 minutes. Probably one of our longest tangents, but it's I was cracking up when I was listening to this today. I mean, I'm my biggest fan, I guess, at this but it's pretty funny.
We're just the funniest people on the planet.
Oh yeah, by far. Just ask Clint Howard. And I think it's my favorite one out of everything. It's my favorite one out of anything we've done. And the Choo Choo Man is a second. It's a close second. But
I think the other clip we're gonna get to in this might be 1-2 for me.
Yeah, this is number 1.
Yeah.
So here it is. In all of its, or close to it, 9-minute glory. Here is our conversation about Time Cop. as viewers are starting to realize this is kind of where we came in from the beginning. So he goes to the mall, finds his wife Melissa, very similar to the first scene that we saw these two. And he tells his wife about his time traveling, and we see more of this fashion from these goons because the goons are there again as they were in the original scene. He tells his wife to kind of, do what you're going to do, and tell your husband, tell me what you want to tell me tonight, essentially, which is that she's pregnant. Like I said, he knows not to cockblock his younger self.
Yes.
So he lets the fucking happen and just kind of listens downstairs while it's going on, I guess.
It would have been great if he did like a little fist pump. He's like, "Attaboy, get it."
Yeah, that's gotta be a weird surreal experience.
Right. But it can't be that bad because the one doing it.
It's gotta be pretty cool, but
Right.
it's gotta be surreal. It's like, whoa, that's crazy. I'm fucking right now, but I'm not fucking right now.
I don't feel like I'm fucking.
Right. Like, what happens if he joined?
Matter.
He couldn't touch himself, though.
Right. Matter can't occupy the same space.
Yes.
Eiffel towering only.
You can't even Eiffel Tower correctly.
Why not?
You could do the bridge.
Well,
you could do
but you
London
can't
Bridge.
high-five.
But yeah, because essentially the Eiffel
right, yes.
Tower, you have to have the pinnacle. So that's when you grab hands.
Or
Or
at
so
least that's what
told.
they tell me.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm confusing London Bridge with the Eiffel Tower. Yeah.
Mark and I have never.
Nope.
Not together.
No, not together. Definitely not. Right, Mark?
Definitely not together.
Definitely not together.
Wink.
But I guess you could London Bridge. Although, let's clear, really, unless you can't really occupy the same space as yourself just by high-fiving. You're still not. At the microscopic level, you are not occupying the same space.
But you're also. I wonder if because you're inside the same person, does that count?
No, because you're not you're occupying the same person. But not the same.
But I'm trying to think, because if you're in the person at the same time, essentially there's a connection.
Right. Now, question. Let's say you ejaculate on her.
Right.
Both of you. You both give her a facial. Does your ejaculate occupy the same space? Although technically those cells aren't the same.
They are the same. They're
No.
100% the same.
No, not at all.
They are.
Not 10 years ago from your cum from 10 years ago isn't the same cum that you cum when you were in 2004.
But you're now within 1994, so your semen is that of 1994, is it not?
No, I'm assuming that your semen travels with you.
That's a great question.
Hello, Greek Geeks Vibe Nation.
Yeah.
These are the answer to no.
We've never pretended we were anything but a not safe for work podcast.
No, I know. I'm waving
something
hi to them so they know what they're in for.
Thanks to our new listeners. Hello.
I just want to know, is this something
you
that we should actively avoid?
If you know the answer to the question, would your form? I am of the opinion that you're also technically
fluids.
Technically, getting back onto the human thing, your cells replace themselves every 7-ish years.
Yeah.
So technically, if you go back in time 10 years ago, you are not the same person at the molecular level as you were then. So you can probably double team your wife and not worry about the implications of turning into an Akira-like monster.
Well, it's probably in the handbook that they have.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably safe, but I don't know, man. I feel as if you have that connection. It's
a huge gamble.
It is
But is the gamble worth it?
Because if you survive, that's a great story.
Right?
Right, that's a pretty awesome story.
No one would believe you, but
no, people in the future would because they know time travel is a thing.
That's true.
Right, so you can say like like water cooler. You're with fellow agent Mark Myers, and Mark, you asked me, hey, so like how did your last mission go? I'm like, dude, I tag team my wife with myself, and you would believe it, right?
Yeah.
You have to because but that's the thing. I mean, you would probably get in so much trouble for doing it because the implications could be dire. Because
It sounds like a fireable offense if you work for the TEC.
yes, 'cause now say you impregnate the future self impregnates the past wife,
Oh, that's crazy.
right? So now it's still technically your kid, right? It has to.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I'm trying to. Is
Oh,
it
that
like
would totally screw over your younger self.
Exactly.
It's like so you don't have to deal with the diaper changing and having to get up around.
Right.
You pick up that kid when he's 10 years old.
Which essentially he does.
Yeah.
But not because he impregnated his past wife.
No, he might as well have though.
Yeah,
Yeah, he had to skip all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there is some drawbacks. You're like, oh, he's so cute when he's a baby, and now he's like this chubby white kid.
Why didn't I teach him how to do splits yet? What is going on right now?
Yeah. Oh, this time travel opens up a craziness.
It's Pandora's box. What it is.
Mhm. So
But
if anybody knows the answers to these questions of whether or not your ejaculate could exist in the same place from 2004 and 1994, I do believe they would be completely different ejaculate though. Not all it's not like one. It's not one ejaculate for your entire life.
It's from your balls though.
I feel
Right,
like
but you didn't produce the ejaculate that you'll have now 10 years ago.
So-
You would have produced it like yesterday.
So-
I don't know exactly how quickly
I feel
or
like
how
this
often you
is
produce sperm.
I feel like this is something that Bill Nye the Science Guy is.
All right, that creep.
Just one more thing. So, like, are you saying, say you're tag teaming your wife, you pull out, get it on her face, right? If your futures touches your younger selves, and there's like a little pool there,
Yeah.
something weird would happen. I just know it. Something weird would have to happen. Like a monstrosity Jean-Claude Van Damme would spring up from the goo.
And try and kill them both.
Right, like I must destroy my predecessor. It's almost like a Highlander moment.
Turns
There
into
can
a Highlander
only be
situation.
one. Yes. The offspring always tries to kill its older, rival.
I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to answer these questions. We'd have to write the porn not parody, but the porn version of this movie to get to the bottom of it.
What would it be called? Time slut?
Yeah, I mean, time cock, obviously.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on.
Come on, Dan.
And our final clip tonight is another Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and we also talk about Time Cop in this clip. This is us talking about Double Impact. We're talking about Twins, and Dan had mentioned that he had wished that Twins worked much like they like past and future selves do in Time Cop. And then this is talking about raising your kids to think that too.
That if they touched each other, the other one would die.
Do you remember this clip at all, Dan?
Vaguely. Ah, shit.
Do you want to take a second to listen to this? It's short. It's only like a minute long.
I wish real twins acted on Time Cop logic. Like the twins can never be in the same spot at the same time. They can't go to the same school.
They can never hug.
Yeah, they can never hug. It's a life of misery for twins, really. I've never known what it's like to embrace my brother.
Dan, if you wind up for some reason having twins, you could raise them to think that.
How great would that be? I mean, I'd be the shittiest. I'd be the shittiest father ever. Like, no, you can't touch each other. You'll disintegrate if you do. One of you will die.
That's a great way to keep them from fighting each other, though.
Yeah.
Can you imagine though, where like if I tell my twin like sons or daughters and they go to school and they just like have a meltdown, like why? And the teacher's like, well, what the hell's going on? Like, I can't touch him. My dad said one of us would die. Watch Time Cop, you idiot.
I just like how we mentioned how it would make me a terrible father. And now that we're revisiting it, I want to do this even more now. I'm doubling down on making sure if I have twins, neither of them gets to see each other. They each get one room. And they have to take, like, you get breakfast at this time, you get breakfast at another time. And but that sounds like a lot of work.
It does.
Yeah, but I love it. Yeah, I wish more things in life just operated on Time Cop logic, really.
I do too. I wish we could go back in time using the Time Cop rules.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And I kind of wish we dressed like Time Cop. Although I don't know why, with the mullet, Just the mullet. We need more mullets
Yeah.
and splits.
Splits. Although there wasn't enough for you in Time Cop.
There was only one. It was a good split though.
Yeah.
On the
That's
counter.
That's the iconic one.
Yes, that's the split to end all splits. On the kitchen counter, well,
Yeah.
the henchman gets electrocuted.
Mhm.
It's a solid
Yeah.
split.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about this, Dan, is when we start talking about the psychological scarring that this would do when the kid goes to school. And
Yeah.
and they ask him, "Why are you crying?" "I can't touch my brother. One of us will die."
Can't go on the field trip. Only one of you gets to go to the chocolate factory.
Yeah, it was either between that one of Double Impact or the conversation about the woman and her quads.
Oh, the quads is a good one. Saquon Barkley, right? That we say that she's the Saquon Barkley of this movie. Quads for days. I just love how the camera just fixates on her quads because they deserved it. Those were some quality quads.
Those are all the clips I have. Is there anything that I missed that you guys kind of hoped that I had pulled?
Mark, what do you think?
No, I'm trying to think. I think the Choo Choo Man, and not because that was my suggestion, in terms of renaming the Bye Bye Man as one, but that was another one of those moments that just truly organic. Just we were discussing what the fuck was up with the train in the Bye Bye Man to begin with, and it just naturally came out to that part. But that's the only one, and I think that's it. I'm trying to think. Do you have any, Dan?
Yes, the Keith David conversation from was it The Lost Treasure of the Maya?
Yep.
How we just talked about, I think Keith David was just on vacation and yeah, you want to be in a movie? Yeah, I'm on my boat. Why not? I thought that was a good one. The Star Crash, making fun of the Southern robot.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty funny.
If I had more time and more, ambition, I would have done a supercut of all the accents we've done on this show and all of the impressions.
I think you do a pretty good Obama, don't you?
I don't remember what episode that is.
Yeah.
I don't know in what situation I would have dropped. It's Obama talking to Jay-Z for some reason.
I couldn't even tell you what that was from.
But I think in the Lost Treasure of the Maya, I do a Matthew McConaughey impression for some reason. And the William
not
Hickey,
in Serenity?
I'm sure it's in Serenity too.
Yeah.
But it's definitely we role play that Matthew McConaughey also rides up on a boat looking for Keith David.
Speaking of McConaughey tiptoes, how we all thought McConaughey was going to throw the baby out the window.
Yes.
So that's kind of harsh, but we all thought it.
Yeah. No, it just seemed like he was going to do it.
Oh yeah.
I love the conversations where we actually have actual movie conversations. Like the end of Motorama was a good one.
With the Odyssey, right?
Yeah. The conversation at the end of all movies, the conversation at the end of Christmas with the Cranks.
Oh yeah, we kind of get into an argument.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we have a frank discussion about what the ending is about and what the message is of that movie. I thought that that's bordering on film criticism that we don't usually get into. But I mean, we're watching shitty movies.
Right. But again, it's cool how we don't always agree on things, and it adds some spice to it. The deleted version of Mac and Me.
Oh yes.
Where the boy in the wheelchair gets blown to shit. Oh, no, he gets shot, right?
Yes.
He gets shot from behind, and you just see the squibs go off and him just slump over. Not saying that I like seeing kids get shot, but just the way that it's acted is very.
Yeah. That was good.
So Undercover with Jeremy Piven, just like the director not wanting Jeremy Piven there, but he just keeps showing up. I'm just kind of going through everything. Yeah, Christmas with the Cranks was a good spirited discussion.
Yeah.
I still can't believe I'll Be Home for Christmas is our top downloaded episode. That's crazy.
Yep.
the Silent Night, Deadly Night, just talking about garbage day. That's more of just the movie's line than our line, but that's a great line. Yeah. Other than, I mean, there's so many. Looking back, we really do have some really good discussions.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys, and that'll probably pretty much wrap it up. Are there any movies you are looking forward to, hoping in the future cover?
Mark, what do you think?
No, I mean, I always make the joke about the Fast and Furious movies, but that's never going to come up. It's just a running bit. But no, like I said earlier, and it wasn't a thing to pat you guys on the back or anything, but I look forward to October just because this is the time when, I get surprised by the movies we watch because I don't go as deep into the horror catalog as you guys have or search that stuff out. So that's the exciting part where there's a good chance I may be absolutely bored because I don't, get this type of horror or something like that. But then there could be also a Reanimator moment where I love that movie so much now after seeing it. I think that part of it is what I look forward to more than, the week-to-week movies. But yeah, that's just me. I don't know what you guys feel on that.
Yeah, in terms of what I'm looking forward to, I like to kind of keep it somewhat newer. So I'm going to try to scour newer movies to see if there's anything good out there. There is one that I have in mind that we're going to have to do after 31 Days of Horror, but I wouldn't say that I'm really looking forward to it, but it caught my eye. I'm just a fan of, I really don't shoot down many ideas. I think we're all really just easygoing. If there's an episode to be had from it, we accept all comers really, but it's not like we just take whatever. We do need to have some side. We need to discuss whether there's an episode in it or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't looked that far ahead in terms of what I really am looking forward to. But there is one movie that I have picked already that I'm excited for.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I was just thinking we haven't done a Neil Breen movie yet. We did the trailer for Twisted Pair. We haven't done The Room yet. There's still so many bad movies left to be watched.
Yeah.
We've only watched 100. There's millions more.
Right. It's a never-ending source, really, and more are being made every year.
Yeah. We do one episode a week and double that for the amount of movies that come out. So there's always we'll never run out. But I think that's gonna wrap it up. Yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up this week. So we'll be back next week. It's gonna be weird because we're gonna wind up recording. This is to kind of let you in behind the curtain a little bit. We post about a week ahead of time. We're recording on a Thursday. That's going to go up the next Thursday. But we're going to basically be recording 31 Days of Horror episodes before October hits. So that's just the way the calendar works this year. So, but we're really excited. It's our favorite time of the year. I keep saying month. Favorite time of the year. 31 Days of Horror. I'm going to try and do articles on the website, but we are definitely at the minimum. We're going to bring you 5 horror movies this year. So October has 5 Thursdays, so you're going to get 5 episodes, all related to horror, and then we'll be back for November and to our usuals, and then we're going to go right after that. We're going right into Christmas movies, so it's going to be a fun couple of months. But yeah, that's it. They Called Us a Movie. You can find us at theycalledusamovie.podbean.com, and wherever you get your podcasts, just search for They Called Us a Movie. The maindamie.com is the main website, and you can find us on all socials at the Main Damies. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I shouldn't say all socials because we're not on TikTok and we're not on Snapchat, and I don't know what else there is. What are the kids? We're not on Hinge. Well, maybe we're on Hinge. Who knows?
We'll have to find out.
Yeah.
Yet. We're not on there yet.
Hinge and Bumble and Grindr, we're on all those somewhere. Just got to find us. But that's going to wrap it up. We're also a proud member of Geek Vibes Nation. Please check them out. They've got a bunch of great shows. We're going to pop up on some of their shows coming up. Bunch of great shows are on there. Bunch of geeky stuff. Top 10 with Tia, Scene and Nerd, Gutting the Sacred Cow, bunch of other shows. I think technically Stranger Damies is part of that, but it's fine. You guys got anything you guys want to plug?
Just my own self at Diaquino122. That's my Twitter. And at Stranger Damies is the D&D account. Come check us out. We will talk about anything we'll talk about anything along with D&D. So we love to hear from you.
Mark?
Yeah. The only thing here is, make sure you just listen to all of our podcasts. Stranger Damies, Game Vault Pod. Stranger Damies is every Wednesday. Game Vault Pod's every other Monday. There's a lot of great content on the Main Damie, family of podcasts. And then we also do streams over at Game Vault Pod on Twitch. And then the archives are all on YouTube. So just be sure to look all that up. We do make content, and it's very easy to find an avenue to get in with something that this website produces.
Okay. Yep, and that's going to wrap it up for us. We don't have anyone to tell to go fuck themselves, so I guess the only thing is to say to here's to hundreds more.